On the edge of the European continent, amid the misty haze, this archipelago appears as a final stop that travelers have reached for thousands of years. Beneath that white veil of mist, they settled here, building mighty dynasties before gradually fading into oblivion in the flow of history. Silent evidence remains, from ancient tombs to hoards of gold buried deep in the earth. Yet that mist cannot hide everything. They left a lasting legacy, their very image etched in our blood. And now, we will lift that mysterious veil to embark on a journey of discovering the distinct identities of the English, Welsh, Scots, and Irish. It all began around 12,000 years ago, when the last ice sheets retreated from these lands. The first pioneer inhabitants crossed a land bridge connecting to Europe. They were hunters and gatherers from the west. Their bloodline carried ancient haplogroups, including Y2 from the paternal line and U5 from the maternal line. In appearance, they possessed a striking beauty, combining dark to black-brown skin with deep ocean blue eyes. Then around 4000 BC, the First Great Revolution erupted. Neolithic farmers migrated from Anatolia, bringing agricultural techniques and erecting great monuments like Stonehenge. Unlike the ancient hunters, these farmers had a lighter complexion with a hint of olive tone, dark brown eyes, jet black hair, and a shorter stature. They brought haplogroup G2A from the paternal side, as well as new maternal lineages such as T, K, and J. For 2 long millennia, these farmers thrived and flourished, but their ruling dynasty ultimately ended in tragedy. Around 2400 BC, an entirely new people landed on this land. They were the ones who turned everything upside down, the Bell Beaker people, descendants of the daring nomadic Yamnaya tribe from the Russian steppe. They arrived and introduced the wheel, copper metallurgy, and sowed the seeds of Indo-European languages, the ones we still use to communicate today. In 2018, a groundbreaking study published in the prestigious journal Nature revealed a harsh truth. In an incredibly short period, perhaps just a few hundred years, these Bronze Age migrants replaced nearly 90% of the indigenous population in Britain. The minds that designed Stonehenge were almost completely erased from the genetic map of their descendants, like an eternal sunset descending over their entire lineage, never to shine brightly again. An endless pitch-black night, and those who once raised the towering stones were completely buried in oblivion by time. In the distant ancient period, an entire ethnic community could gradually dissolve into the mists of history, leaving behind only extremely faint and rare traces. Today, the idea of completely disappearing has become impossible in the digital world. The internet never forgets anything. Everything is remembered forever. Right at this moment, your personal data is being exposed on digital platforms. Your name, home address, phone number, and even extremely detailed information about your relatives are being collected and sold for profit by companies you have never met. This data leakage creates the perfect conditions for identity theft, sophisticated scam calls, and contributes to a digital trail that isn't easy to clean up. If you want to stay safe in this tech-driven era, you need a shield built for the new age. Incognito is a specialized data removal service that works by tracking down information brokers and sending legally binding removal requests on your behalf. They reclaim control over information you never agreed to make public, and automation is only the beginning. Incognito's breakthrough difference lies in its personalized data removal feature for each individual. If you happen to discover your information on a specific website, such as a people search site, a leaked database, or an old forum lost to oblivion, you simply forward that address to Incognito. Then, a dedicated security expert will directly handle the entire manual removal process on the system for you. No forms to fill out, no emails to send, no time wasted chasing website administrators who never respond. Instead, an expert will quietly erase the most stubborn traces of your digital journey, the things every automated tool is powerless against. If no one can find you, then no one has the chance to harm you. Hurry to reclaim the digital identity that is rightfully yours. Just click the link in the description or visit incognito.com/historyhub and use code HISTORYHUB to get 60% off your annual subscription. Now, let's rewind back to the story of nations. The new arrivals carried the paternal lineage R1b, particularly the R1b, L21 branch, and they almost completely replaced the previously existing G2A and I2 lineages. As for the maternal line, they brought an extremely complex mixture, including haplogroup H, a lineage that remains the most common across Europe today. In terms of physique, they were considerably taller and more robust than the farming population, while also possessing genes for pale skin and a noticeably higher incidence of light hair and eye colors. Though originating from the same root, the divergent branches evolved in entirely different directions due to 3 consecutive millennia of invasions. Many parts of the archipelago bore the brunt of these invasions, while other areas were barely touched. It was from the west that the first great rift appeared in the unity of the archipelago. To truly understand Wales, you first need to grasp its landscape. The land is like a formidable natural fortress, its mountains and valleys gazing out towards the Irish Sea. For centuries, successive waves of Romans, Angles, and Saxons landed in the fertile, prosperous lowlands of the east. The ancient Britons, the original Celtic inhabitants, were gradually forced to retreat towards the west. They fled into the rugged hill country to save their lives, turning Wales into a safe haven of refuge. It became a genetic treasure trove, preserving traces of a distant past. Today, scientific evidence reinforces that historical account. In 2015, a groundbreaking study of the people of the British Isles was led by the University of Oxford. The study found that the Welsh carry a genetic profile completely distinct from the rest of the UK, and they remain most closely linked to the Beaker settlers of the Bronze Age. Looking at the paternal lineage, an undeniable truth emerges. The frequency of the ancient R1b L21 line among the Welsh is extremely high. These rates typically range from 70% to 80%. On the maternal side, their lineage is equally ancient, with haplogroup H clearly dominant. While England was stirred by Germanic immigration waves, the massive mountain ranges silently sheltered the pure genetic heritage of the Welsh. The Welsh are the guardians of the oldest and most continuous lineage in Britain, a living bridge to the pre-Roman world. Just across the sea lies Ireland. Genetically, the Irish share the same deep ancestral paternal lineage, R1b L21, with the Welsh. In remote rural areas of Western Ireland, the genetic imprint connecting to the Bronze Age is also extremely strong and profound. In this region, paternal lineage accounts for over 80% of the male population living there. Yet, Ireland's story is forged by an even deeper isolation than that. The Roman Empire, the force that fundamentally transformed British culture, never once conquered Ireland. The Irish maintained ownership of their island, thereby nurturing a distinctive Gaelic culture and language within the island's isolation. But then, Ireland faced another storm from the sea, one that Wales had largely avoided: the Vikings. From the late 8th century, Norse people, mostly Norwegians, began landing and raiding Ireland. But they didn't stop at raiding. They also settled and built Ireland's first true port cities, including Dublin, Wexford, Waterford, Cork, and Limerick. Over centuries, those Norse Vikings intermingled with the local Gaelic population, forming a Norse-Gaelic hybrid culture in these core urban centers. They brought entirely new genetic markers, notably the paternal haplogroup I1 and specialized subbranches of R1. These biological traits originate in Scandinavia, alongside the light skin pigmentation commonly found in Northern Europe. Therefore, if rural Irish people symbolize the ancient and isolated Atlantic migration branch, this country's history marks an extremely distinct divergence. That core Gaelic identity structure had its maritime boundaries permanently reshaped by the hands of urban builders from Northern Europe. Now let's move north to Scotland. If Wales is likened to a sturdy fortress, Scotland is a true forge, an ever-changing melting pot, tempered by icy northern winds. Many of us still think the entire island of Britain shares a unified pre-Roman history, but scientific evidence points to the exact opposite. A large-scale genetic study published in Nature Communications, 2019, revealed that the massive migration wave that assimilated southern England halted right at Scotland's doorstep around 1000 BC. Even 3,000 years ago, the northern region was distinctly different. So who were these people after all? By the time the Romans arrived, they faced fierce tribes called the Caledonians, along with the enigmatic Picts, also known as the Painted People. The Picts left behind mysterious carved stones, yet they left no written records of any kind. If you look deep into the genetic map, The people of the north appear to be direct descendants of the native Iron Age inhabitants, completely different from what we see in the south. Yet, Scotland as we know it today was shaped by waves of migration that took place as early as the start of the Middle Ages. A Gaelic-speaking kingdom called Dalriada once stretched from Northern Ireland across to the west of Scotland. These migrants went down in history under the familiar name, the Scoti. They brought their Gaelic language with them, and ultimately gave their name to an entire nation, both blending with and absorbing the Picts who had long inhabited the land. And then the Vikings also set foot there, but unlike the Danes who went to England, most of these Vikings came from Norway. In the far north, in the Orkney and Shetland archipelagos, the genetic impact they left is enormous. As much as a quarter of the DNA of the islanders there traces back to Northern Europe. That signature is visible in the dense frequency of paternal haplogroups like R1a and I1, alongside distinctive maternal haplogroups such as U5b1b1, which are very common in Scandinavia. So the Scottish are by no means a homogeneous people. They are a complex northern mixture, made up of native Picts, Gaelic migrants from Ireland, and seafaring Norwegians. Finally, let us turn south and east to the land of England. This is the part of the British Isles most open to the European mainland, and therefore the one most profoundly reshaped by it. Even before the English arrived, the Romans ruled this land. For nearly 400 years, Britannia was a Roman province, with countless cities, roads, and villas built by them. Behind those remains, however, lies one of the greatest mysteries of genetics. Despite occupying the region for 4 centuries, the Romans left almost no traceable genetic mark on England's population today. They were just the empire's administrative apparatus and a military force, since they did not settle in large enough numbers to alter the underlying DNA. When the legions left in AD 410, the genetics of England were still essentially Celtic. The true genetic shift only began after that, from the 5th century onward with the arrival of the Anglo-Saxons. The Saxons, for their part, came from the coastal lands of Germany and Denmark, and if translated literally, the name England means the land of the Angles. For decades, archaeologists and historians have been debating, was this a bloody replacement of the native Britons, or merely a small elite class coming to power? Thanks to modern genetics, the answer is clearer than ever. A large-scale study just published in Nature, based on the analysis of hundreds of ancient skeletons, has confirmed that this was indeed a profound demographic transformation. According to the study's findings, in the eastern part of England, 30% to 50% of native DNA was completely replaced by migrants of Germanic origin. They brought high frequencies of male haplogroups of continental origin, such as R1b, U106, and I1, along with typical maternal haplogroups like H1G. In terms of physical appearance, it was they who made the prevalence of blonde hair, blue eyes, and extremely fair skin in the English much higher than in the western regions. Centuries later, the Danes, another group of Vikings, swept in and conquered half of England. That land was the Danelaw, and it added another layer of North Sea genetics to the English bloodline. Therefore, the English are a great synthesis, a genetic hybrid born from the encounter between ancient Britain and the Germanic tribes along the North Sea coast. 4 nations together form a single archipelago. The Welsh are like loyal mountain guardians, preserving the purest bloodline since the Bronze Age. The Irish are an isolated Atlantic core, shaped by separation and the seaports established by the Vikings. The Scots are a peculiar Nordic stew, blending the Picts, the Gaels, and the Norsemen. The English are the great bridge to the continent, a mix of native Britons and Germanic migrants. On the map are clear borders, but deep beneath the skin lies an ancient story of unity, divided by history, invasions, and geography. We are all walking manuscripts with many layers, constantly rewritten by the ghosts of the ancients. Thank you for watching. If you found this video useful, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and leave a comment below about your ancestral origins. See you in the next part, where we will continue together to draw the world's invisible map of history.